Hey everybody, I'm here with Robbie.
Hey.
This is my boyfriend, Robbie Robbins. He is really awesome. Pretty much one of the smartest guys that I know. And I just adore him. And we were having a conversation probably a little over a week ago, and we've had this conversation a few times in the past, and we decided that we should jump on and share with you guys. It's a really cool strategy just to make it a lot easier, make your life a lot easier through calorie counting, because sometimes that can be crazy, or maybe some days you feel like you're force feeding yourself or you're not eating enough. So this is a really cool strategy that you can start implementing, and we're going to explain it a little bit. Just so you guys know who he is. This is my boyfriend. We have been together for almost 2 years now.
Close.
Yep, March will be 2 years. So we are gonna start talking about it now. Like I said, this is just a strategy. Hello to you guys jumping on. Hey Dale. This is just a strategy you guys can use to make your life easier when it comes to calorie counting, because ultimately we all know that sometimes it can be one of those things where, like I said, you're either feeling like you're force feeding yourself, or you're feeling like you're not eating enough, or you're like, I can't eat anymore, or I'm so hungry, why am I so hungry today? Women, men will understand this too, but women, you know, when you get in that time, sometimes you get super hungry, or sometimes you're like, I couldn't even eat. So I'm just throwing that out there. I won't go into detail on that. But anyway, so one of the things we were talking about, and I want Robbie to kind of explain this a little further, is some days if you were to go over on some days, it's not the end of the world. Because sometimes we're told in the industry, or we start to believe that going over is going to ruin our results, right? If we go over one day, that's it, we're done, we failed. So, yeah, what do you have to say about that?
No, well, it's, if you're having, let's say your diet's 3,000 calories a day. Now, I mean, that's high for most people, but it's just, we can go with 2,000. It's an easy number to multiply. But so in the week you're eating 14,000 calories. It's if you don't have a cheat day at one of the days. But if you're pretty strict and it's 7 days a week, it's 14. And a lot of people, if you mess up on your diet, it's you go over, let's say, 200 calories, right? You have there's a dessert or something. You go over 200. A lot of people look at it and think that they ruin their diet, or I guess
failed,
yeah, they failed, or oh no, like now and there's like what would you maybe get like I can't think of the word, like
you can kind
like
of
mad at yourself, I guess, or
you blame yourself, you get down on yourself, maybe you start getting in that mode of like, oh, I just can't get it right.
And it kind of right. And I guess it puts you into that mode of like giving you a bad taste of your diet. It's like
right.
It gives you a bad memory of your diet, and you're like, oh, this dieting is so hard. I keep doing this, and you're like, I might as well just stop or restart it in 2 weeks or next month or whatever.
Right. Or, I'm not eating enough.
Yeah, and if you go under too much too.
Exactly.
But, if you eat, let's say your diet is 2,000 calories a day and you eat 2,200, well, then the next day you could eat 1,800.
Right.
Or 2 days later you could eat 1,800. But as long as you're hitting your 14,000 calories in that week, in the correct way, you're going to be fine. I'm not saying that you can eat 5,000 calories a day for basically 3 days almost.
Right.
And then for the next 4 days, don't eat anything, because
you don't want to starve yourself.
Your body's going to eat all your muscle, because you're only going to fuel yourself for those 3 days, and,
right.
And you're just going to destroy any progress you've made for the past, month or two.
Exactly. And it's really easy to connect this to working out too, right? Because if you're like, okay, I know in order to achieve my goals, maybe your goal is to gain weight, or maybe your goal is to burn fat or lose weight. Now, if you're looking at your meal plan and you're like, okay, I have a total of 14,000 calories, and I'm just going to stick with those numbers. So let's say you're like, okay, I have a total of 14,000 calories that I eat in a week. Well, if I'm only going to the gym twice, probably not eating less than the amount I'm consuming, or not burning enough, basically, is what I'm getting at. So you know how, the more calories you bring in, if you're not burning it, then you're not going to lose anything. So the whole point I'm getting at is basically, if you are eating 14,000 calories in a week, and then you're not burning anywhere near it, you're not burning that extra 500, then you're going to see that imbalance. You're going to go, why am I not losing the weight? Same thing goes if you're bulking. If you're trying to gain muscle, you're trying to gain even just a little bit of fat, or maybe you're just like someone who's like, I actually have to gain weight. Like, it's a problem, I'm too underweight. Well, if you look at it, again, if you have 14,000 calories, but then you're going to the gym and you're like a slave in there, you're killing yourself, and you're burning way too much, it's not going to add up. The numbers aren't going to add up. So you always want to make sure, if you look at it from a weekly standpoint, the reason why we find this to be so simple, it's like if you look at it day by day, you know, you can get down on yourself, or maybe you're feeling really good, but then at the end of the week, you're like, I don't have any more room. You can always create space.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Well, there's two things. There's, if you go over, you know, you could also, I guess, cover it with extra cardio. If you enjoy that. If you don't enjoy cardio, I've bulked up and cut down, and I've pretty much never done any cardio because it's how you eat, and cardio has benefits. So I'm not saying no one they never do cardio.
Your heart matters.
Yeah, for my specific workouts, I didn't need to have cardio. I was lifting, you know, heavy and, you know, a few reps, so cardio didn't come into play. Now when I start doing more bodybuilding stuff, yeah, I start feeling like I'm gonna throw up. But and then the other
Sonia. Sorry.
And the other side of it is that when you're setting up these diets and maybe you're eating a little bit too much or eating a little bit too little, and you look at it from that weekly perspective, and in moderation, just like everything else, you know, if you go a little bit over, then yeah, okay, then the next day just a little bit under, or, you know, or vice versa. And I had a better point and I couldn't remember it.
Did.
And it'll come to me.
It'll come back.
It was something along with what you were saying about
going under, building muscle, losing fat, burning not enough or burning too much. It'll come back. If it's meant to be, it'll be. So yeah, this is something that we feel like can be really helpful, especially for people maybe who are changing their meal plan or starting something new, or maybe you've never tracked before. Ultimately, at the end of the day, there are other things that matter more than calories.
I remember now.
Go for it. No, share.
Oh, okay. No, but, and that's the other thing, is looking at it from the weekly perspective. It makes it better, at least for me, in the future, because in the future of my goals in my diet or my weightlifting or what have you, is that when I'm tracking, I track my food every day, and I'm generally pretty good because I meal prep everything, and I don't really have a snack, you know, for a while. But if I'm tracking weekly, it also goes into my weightlifting and also my body weight, and also my goals with, you know, the way, if I want my body to look a certain way, for whatever program I'm doing, is that I track my weight every week, or more or less every day, but then I compare weekly. So even though I'm tracking every day, where it's like, you know, especially when you just start a new diet, or, you know, whether you're dieting down or bulking up, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, generally, it takes a while for your body to normalize your new diet. So you could jump up 6 pounds, you could drop down 6 pounds. And it's not that you've lost that 6 pounds or gained that 6 pounds right away. It's your body either holding on to food differently because it's like it's a bunch of new food.
Right.
Or I like to mix up my food a lot, so a lot of times my body's like, oh, what's this, what's that? But also after that 2 or 3 weeks, you know, you can kind of gauge on, okay, I'm kind of gaining maybe 2 pounds a week, or I'm losing a pound a week, or I'm gaining half a pound a week, depending on how slow or how aggressive your diet is. And that goes for changes in your body. You know, I gained 30 pounds when I first started working out, because I was like, or actually more, I went from like 130 to 175, so I gained 45, and then I cut down to 160, and in that time, I didn't really notice. I mean, I noticed little things about my body, but I didn't notice that much until I looked at pictures.
Right.
So to me, taking before and after pictures or progress pictures every month is huge, because, you know, 4 weeks of dieting could be miserable. And then if you look at a picture and say, wow, look how much has changed, it kind of gives you that motivation. It's that, like, you know, and also, you know, just like compliments. People say, oh, you look better, you know, or if that's your goal is to lose weight. or get more aesthetic. You know, people kind of say something like, "Oh, like really? You know, I guess what I'm doing is working." Same with the pictures, you know. So not only looking at a diet in the terms of I haven't ruined it or in some way.
Look, Joelle's on.
I told her about it. Ruining it in some way, looking at it from a weekly perspective is the same as looking at it with any sort of thing along with your goals in your weightlifting journey or your I guess fitness journey. Right. Better word. So, you know, pictures are important. Pictures I'm not saying every week, but every month.
Yeah, I usually have my clients do them every 2 weeks. That's just because, again, I'm making adjustments to their plan, so it's easy for me to look at a photo and be like, okay, I know what's changing, or it depends on the person's goals too. The other thing I wanted to add, kind of branching off what he said, was when you look at it from a weekly perspective and you see how you're changing, you see where your weight's at, and, you know, maybe you realize, like, oh, I lost, like, half a pound this week. Maybe probably not an actual official half pound, but you can go, okay, I know then that I need to maybe lower what I'm eating. I know I need to make an adjustment somewhere. Either I need to lower something or I need to look at what was I actually doing in the gym. Was I productive? And then looking at it even from the standpoint of, like you mentioned earlier, like if you had a dessert or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something to necessarily beat yourself up over. Granted, of course, you shouldn't just be eating like a bunch of unhealthy foods, and I've talked about that before. But it allows you to go, you know what, I do have the ability, if it's my birthday and I want to eat super healthy most of the day, and then at night I'm like, I'm having the whole cake. It's like, okay, well, tomorrow you can be aware that you went over most likely on your carbs. You most likely went over a little bit on your fats as well. And then you can go, and I definitely went over on calories. And big thing to remember, when you go over one day, you're probably less hungry the next. And we have to recognize as human beings that, you know, it changes. We're not always consistently hungry. And then the other thing that I liked that you mentioned was there is a fluctuation, especially in the beginning. And something to take note of is the fact that it doesn't mean that you are necessarily, you know, doing terrible and gaining. It doesn't mean that you're doing really well and losing. It just means that your body's adjusting. Anytime you make changes in your diet, especially if you're trying to, honestly, if you're trying to gain or trying to lose, a big part of that depends on where you started. So if you started where you were just eating a little bit, and now you're starting to increase the amount, your body's going to go, oh my gosh, finally there's more food, and it's going to store it. Doesn't necessarily mean it's bad storage. It just means, you know, it's going to go, look, Joel says eating a lot of tacos. Hey, Tara. Hey, Esther. Hey, Mackenzie. Yeah, so, anyways, yeah, that's pretty much a good gist of it. Do you guys have any questions? We're basically just trying to give you that idea, that new type of way to look at it, because I think that it's heavily promoted in most diets, the industry in general, a lot of times in those diets that you see, you know, just on TV. But it's definitely something that, you know, can be looked at it from a different light, a different perspective, and can really take a load off, because it also makes math a lot easier. And like you were saying, at the end of the week, you're looking at your pictures, or you're looking at your weight, or you're looking at, you know, your strength gains, and you're going, this is not working, or you're going, this is working really well. So, essentially, if you maybe struggle with the day-to-day, or you're like, it's so hard to hit my 1900 calorie, okay, let's go 2000.
Yeah.
It's so hard to hit my 2000 calories every single day, or man, it's so easy. Well, okay, you can go over a little bit, and then maybe on the weekend you find yourself either splurging a little bit more, or you find yourself more time to like go on walks or hikes and just really evaluate, so you can make it more of a math situation than like a painful one.
Well, and it's everything in moderation too. Like, you don't have to eat the whole thing that you know you want to maybe cheat with. You know, if it's a piece of cake or a cookie, you know, and I don't know what exact studies, but there has been studies where it's like, if you're craving something like that cookie, then just have a little bite of it, and that'll most of the time kind of
ease that urge,
and you've now gotten a little taste of it. You just have to be smart about it. You can't go overboard, obviously.
Right.
And also, just something, I mean, we talked about it recently, there's two things. One, I like to prep all my meals for the week. I think it's 10 times easier. Just going and grabbing your food because you don't have to make it and you don't have to be like, I could just grab this instead.
Right.
I think that's easier. So if people aren't doing that, it's probably super smart.
Mm.
But and if you have the time and you spend a few hours doing that one day a week, it'll save you
hours in the week.
You just go in there and grab it, put a few in the freezer and then just swap it out, once you take one out of the fridge, throw one from the freezer, and it'll save you a lot of extra time. The other thing, and we've talked about it a couple days ago, was, and she doesn't necessarily like it, is if it fits your macros.
Oh.
And
well,
in certain instances.
And you guys have seen that video.
Yeah, but it's, if that's the easiest way for you to do it, still tracking maybe for the week or whatever, and I think it all depends on the person, because, you say eat healthy, and some people have a problem with it.
Right.
Like, eating fully healthy, and, like, they kind of think that if they have, like, that cookie or something maybe that doesn't seem healthy, that has also ruined their diet. Not even going over, just literally having that one thing.
That was my problem. That was literally... I mean, it was just recent that I got over that, and I shared that in the post yesterday, where it was like, I was fearful of even taking a bite of something. I was afraid to even just, put a cookie in my mouth. I was afraid to grab. I forced myself to, when I first started my fitness journey, I forced myself to work out after every single meal. Like, that's how bad it was, because I mean, obviously that's an unhealthy relationship with food, but what we're trying to share is that it doesn't have to be unhealthy. It doesn't have to be restrictive, and you might not think you're being restrictive or unhealthy, but in the end, when you really look at it, if you really ask yourself, like, if I were to let go of all the beliefs that I've had in the past, what would I really, really believe about the way that I'm eating?
Well, and it goes along with, if, and everyone's different, so someone could eat very healthy for a very long time and feel fine.
Right.
And some people can eat healthy for a very long time and feel amazing every day. And there's also people that could eat, follow if it fits your macros and eat ice cream and eat things like that and still feel great every day. It all depends on how things make you feel, because people react differently to, sugars and carbs and fats and proteins. So, it also depends on that too. If, let's say, you want to have like a cookie, as part of like your diet, as long as it works with your calories in, calories out, and it's something, whatever, you could do that every day. And if you feel fine, then there's nothing along to it. Now, granted, it might not be the healthiest thing, but you could also find a healthy cookie or a healthier something, healthier, or make your own and make sure that it's where you want.
Pure.
Yeah, I make a lot of my own stuff.
Yeah.
I look up recipes and do it just because I know exactly what goes into it, and I can control my portioning and
He's a good cook. He can take care of I'm like, that works. He's like, we're making this. He's good at it. What's up, Nick, Chantal, Joel, Kylie? Hey, how are you? Yeah, so it's so true. Like, I think that something that we can miss the mark on is how food makes us feel, because for some people, they can't tolerate gluten. For some people, they can't tolerate, meat even. Some people actually can't even tolerate it. And
also with dairy. I mean, I have a slight dairy problem, I guess. I don't know, with certain things I eat. So I've tried to take that out of my diet as much as possible. So
yeah, and the other thing is, like, and I have some friends who could totally comment on this, but like the health of like your gut and your digestive system and just the way your body's processing foods really matters, because it can affect the way that foods feel in your body. And sometimes it's not even a matter, for his case, and for a lot of people who are lactose intolerant case, it's like a matter of getting rid of it. But in some cases, you don't even have to. You might just have to change the way your body's working. And what I like that you said earlier too was like, how does it make you feel? Personally, if I ate like crap all day, I would feel terrible. I bloat really bad. I get, and someone's gonna comment about my gut health because of that. But I feel heavy. I feel like no energy. But when I'm eating healthy and light and fueling my body every couple hours, I'm feeling really good. I have high energy. And then I have like, now I allow myself to have a bite of something if I want it. Like, I had like a honey roasted peanut and I was like, oh, and then I was like, but I had 3 and that was it,
Well, that's the thing though. People put like, some people don't want to eat healthy because they don't think it'll taste good.
Right.
But
It
you
can.
know, if you don't eat necessarily as clean or as healthy as maybe you want to, or you think that you could,
Or you should think you should.
yeah, I think you should. And because you know you'll never know how that makes you feel if you eat healthy for a little while, and it's gonna, the thing that people forget is that when you transition over from eating maybe not healthy to being healthy, it's not this instant switch where you eat healthy for 2 days and all of a sudden you're like, I feel amazing.
I'm like
It
so
takes,
healthy.
I mean, it takes a
Yeah.
good like month or two, so maybe a little bit longer, because your body's not flushing out all that extra stuff and your body's getting used to it. So you know, it's just like whenever I start a new diet, the first 2 or 3 weeks is always terrible for me. Sometimes I'll get gas or I'll get really bloated, or you know, it's not the greatest because sometimes I'll switch my food so drastically that my body's getting used to it. And I mean, I just recently bulked, and I mean, I went from like 160, 165 up to almost 200
Yeah.
in like, it was like 15 or 17 weeks.
Very fast.
So it wasn't super healthy, but I had a different goal in mind.
Very different.
And I knew what I was going to do once I cut back down. It was going to be a very slow cut, and then I got sick and lost a bunch of weight, so it kind of was for naught, but...
It's still... But the point is, you can drastically change in an instant. It's just a matter of choices, and he's very consistent. This is one of the most consistent guys I know in terms of actually staying on top of what he's eating and tracking, and he's very, very on it. And...
I also love cutting, so that's another thing. I hate eating a lot of food. I almost throw up all the time when I'm bulking. I was eating, my last bulk, I was eating like 400 to 4,500 plus calories a day.
I was like gag worthy.
Yeah, and so that for me is hard. Bulking is hard. Cutting is the easiest thing. So I know personally for me that if I gain 40 pounds, I can easily cut down to whatever I want to. Now some people maybe can't do that very well. It's the opposite. So you have to be smart with it. Don't go by my example and be like, oh, well, you know, you can eat unhealthy and gain 40 pounds. And it's like, yeah, that's what I did. I didn't eat fully healthy. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't. I don't know if I can eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich again in the near future for many years, because...
He also says my PBJs aren't very good.
No, well, she uses like 8 tablespoons of peanut butter and 8 tablespoons of jelly, and it all ends up on the ground.
Okay, when I'm paying attention, I don't do that. But when I want a PBJ, like a thick PBJ... His did end up a little bit all over himself.
Yeah. And I was eating 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a day for probably 17 weeks. And, yeah, so you can tell I got miserable. And I can't look at a PB&J the same for a while. But it was the convenience of it. And sometimes, you know, I try and keep all my diets as healthy as I can and as cheap as I can.
And as convenient as possible.
Yeah. And so right now, for my upcoming diets, I eat very healthy. I mean... pretty healthy. There's some sugars and stuff in there, but it's like steak and potatoes and pasta and carrots and like my protein stuff and oats and granola and granola isn't necessarily healthy, so don't eat all granola, but I mean it works for me.
Right. And again, this is like about numbers too. Like if you're really focusing on numbers, this is something to think about. And then just to go off on the whole like weight gain, weight loss thing. For my competition prep, I started my prep weighing at like 135, 140. I was about there. And I cut down all the way. I stepped on stage probably at 115. The day before my show was 120. And then, you know, that was a severe water cut going into the last day. So it was probably 115 to 120 on stage. And then I freaking hit a wall. I gained 30 pounds in like 2 weeks. So I hit 150. I was 150 pounds not even like 2 weeks after my show.
Yep.
I just recently lost like those 10 pounds. But that was just a matter of me having to consciously be aware of what happened and how I could get my, you know, my body up to speed again and my metabolism kicking back on, because ultimately I hit a wall and then I was kind of like, I will say I was kind of unmotivated by it, or like I was like, oh, this is annoying, and then I was finding myself not wanting to eat a ton or wanting to eat a ton, and I was just like up and down all the time. So like,
and that's where the problem comes in, where it's like you look at one thing like, oh, I have to eat less, I have to eat more,
right, and
you start fluctuating a lot, and then that messes with your mind too, because you're seeing the scale go up 5 pounds, down 5 pounds, up 3 pounds, down 3 pounds.
Yeah,
you're taking that, you know, maybe it's going down 1 and up 3. You know, you're taking 1 step back, forward 2 steps back. You know.
Right.
And that can get in your head, and that can play a lot, and you just have to keep, you know, and that's why tracking is so important. You got to make sure you track, because you can't just say, I think it was 200 calories, so now I'm not going to eat I think 200 calories. You know, you have to know at least, and there's some things you can't track, but you have to use your best judgment. And on, you know, there are tracker apps where you can put in like, you know, I ate like an ounce of this, and a lot of places people do make. So if you go to like a restaurant, some people have put in already the meal they had, and if it's similar to yours, you can choose that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like I lost this weight not tracking. And that's something I think to kind of, you know, pay attention to as well. Like granted, some of it was like but like ultimately I lost that without tracking. And I think it's because something that I switched was like I was like, I'm gonna eat when I'm hungry and I'm gonna listen to what my body wants, and I'm not gonna eat when I'm not hungry, rather than gorge just because I feel like I need to get a meal down. Now, it is important to, of course, eat what you need to eat what's in your day, but at the same time, you shouldn't be forcing food down your throat if you're not hungry, and you shouldn't be starving yourself if you are hungry. So I was just listening to my body, especially because I was coming off of such a I was like so strict in my competition prep, which was not a problem. That wasn't like a big deal to me. I loved that. I like love that. But the thing that was hard for me was like when I hit a wall after, and I was prepping after too. Like for like 2 weeks after, I was like kind of just whatever I felt and whatever I wanted. Not whatever I wanted food wise. It was just like a balance. But then I started prepping again. I was still at 150 for the longest time, and I've gotten to the point where I can step on a scale every day and just go, ha ha ha, like, it doesn't affect me. I'll be like, look, it's like this, because it's like not a big deal. What matters is like, what are you doing with the numbers that you see? What are you doing with the numbers that you're putting in your body? If you're tracking, what is it that you can track better? What you can be more aware of? And maybe there's some people on here who are like, you know, I've done really well. I can eat like a ton of calories and maintain my weight. It's like, all a matter of looking at, because I know so many women who come to me and they go, you know, I'm eating like 1,200 calories right now, and I'm like, all right, like how tall are you, you know? And it's like they're like 5'6", 5'7", and I'm like, you're eating 1,200 calories, what? Because it's just a matter of where you're at, and it's when you want to actually lose weight or burn fat, if you want to say, and you're not eating enough to maintain and gain that muscle that has to go with that. But also, if you think about it, the more you keep cutting, and I talked about this a little bit on my last one, it's like if you start at 1,200 and then all of a sudden you got to go to like 1,000, like you're stuck. You need to bring it back up. So you can't be afraid of increasing your food now, increasing your amount, increasing your calories slowly, even if it's by 100 a week or 100 every 2 weeks. Just increase it slowly, and then you'll be able to get to the point where you're like, okay, now I'm at like a good maintenance, a good even above maintenance, and I know that now when I cut, I'll actually cut weight as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things real quick, is that one is you also have to remember when you're gaining muscle, obviously the scale is going to be a little bit different than you assume. Even if you're trying to lose weight, sometimes you are going to gain weight, or you might lose weight very slowly. You know, half a pound to a pound a week of losing and gaining is not bad. It's, you know, if you're gaining 1 pound a week, most of that weight is probably going to be, if you're dieting and working out correctly, is going to probably be more muscle than fat. And same with dieting is when you're losing it, you might only lose half a pound in a week.
Right.
But you could have gained a pound of muscle and lost some fat. And then the other thing is, this is a touch on what we were saying earlier about eating when you're hungry. You just have to be smart about it.
Right.
You know, you can't have someone who has never tracked and never dieted correctly say, oh, I'll just eat when I'm hungry. Because, for someone like me, I can go 6 hours a day without eating because I'm not a huge eater, so that's why meal prepping works for me. But I'm just not a huge eater. I can wake up in the morning. I hate eating breakfast.
I'm like, I gotta eat right when I wake up.
Yeah, so I wake up and I could go 6 hours and then eat, and it's not really that big of a deal to me. My body doesn't actually. The only time I notice it is when I work out. But throughout the day, I could do totally normal things. I could move a house. That's what I did when I moved. I woke up, wouldn't eat, just move everything, and then 8 hours later, be like, oh, I have to eat. But I think it's good for people that maybe don't track and are having problems with dieting, is to make sure you do track, because it definitely gives you a good base. And then if eventually in the future you feel comfortable not having to track, then go for it and see how it goes for a couple weeks.
Right, that's where I was at. I felt comfortable not tracking.
Yeah.
Even though I had someone who built my plan for me for my competition, I didn't even know where my numbers were at. I was at a point where I was like, I understand what 4 ounces of chicken looks like after staring at it every single day. Like, I knew what it looked like. And when you get in that mode where you feel more confident in it and you feel like you really understand it, like, you can go for it. You can try different things, but you know, you hear a lot of people say you should never track, don't track, I think it's dumb, da da da. I think that's a little silly because your body's a machine and, you know, you have to treat it as such, especially if you're trying to achieve specific goals. Now, if you're happy with where you're at, then just keep doing what you're doing, but
well, and also sometimes, and also in this, you have to realize when I'm saying track, if you enjoy tracking every meal every day, then go for it. If you don't, then what I do is I don't track every day.
right.
I track one time.
The week when you're building your meal plan.
Yeah, and then I never track again until I start a new diet, because I usually stick to my meal plan. And then what that also gives me is when I have a... Can you hand me that?
Yeah.
So when I make my meal plans, I write everything down. I write my initial meal plan down. So let's see. So you can kind of see, like, my pasta, right? I write how many ounces, how many calories. I write my fats and all that. So I do that one time when I build my program, so I know exactly, you know, if I'm having, let's say, 28 ounces of pasta, so the pasta I use, that ends up being, you know, so this is easier. So my whole meal is 28 ounces of pasta for the week. So it's 4 ounces per serving. Then I have sauce. I have sausage in it. And then it works out to 362, round give or take, calories per serving. So they eat that 2 times a day. So I know that each one of those things is going to be 362 calories, give or take, because I don't totally weigh everything. I kind of just go by eye because I've done it so many times. But so I know exactly everything that I'm eating. If I'm eating my steak and potatoes and carrots, I know that whole thing equals out to 400 calories, or it's 399 point something. I just rounded up because I was 400. I didn't want to do 399, but and I know, so I only have to track one time, and to me that's the easiest because it takes all the guesswork out. I don't have to pull out my phone and take pictures of stuff any more than one time a week. I also go to the store before I start new diets, and I I look at things. I'll take pictures with my phone at the price of the macros and the calories and everything, and then I'll build a plan off of that. Because if I know I'm gonna buy a thing of peanuts or a peanut butter or whatever, I'll go take a picture of the label, you know, at a certain point when I'm at the store or a couple of days before, and I'll take pictures of everything I'm gonna be eating, so I have all the numbers. I'm not like saying, okay, I think it'll be 100 calories.
Right.
When it's actually like 110 or 120.
He knows the numbers before he shops.
Yeah.
So it's not just like you're looking it up online and going, this person tracked it on this app and it was 150, when in reality that's not the case. And
then I build my diet off of that.
Right.
And I know that I'm hitting all those things every single day, and I know what each meal has in it, so I could always look back at my thing and be like, okay, like my pasta has 210 calories per 2 ounces. And that makes it easier because I don't have to track every day. I track one time, and after that, I'm solid, and I just keep buying that same stuff for a while until I want to switch it out, and then I just drop one thing, balance out the rest of my diet if I need to, and then go from there.
Yeah, and if at the end of the week you're like, oh, I missed 2 of my pastas because they were all in the fridge, and maybe you like found out you didn't have 2, you're like, I have 400 calories to fill back in, 420 calories to fill back in, so he knows where he's at with that too. And just for those of you who are on here watching and going, but I don't know how to build a meal plan, I don't know how to look at macros, I don't know how to do the calories, he's pointing at me because it's true. Reach out. Like, this is your opportunity, this is your chance to, if this is something that's speaking to you, if this is something where you're like, yeah, I could really use some help with this, my awareness is kind of low. Ultimately, all of this is about increasing your awareness, raising your levels of consciousness, everything along those lines, because you do need the support. I had someone supporting me throughout my whole entire competition, so that's because I didn't want to have to do the work. There was already so much going on. You're probably living a busy life, or you have a lot going on, and it would be so amazing to have someone do all of the numbers for you. Because if you could imagine, with all my clients, I track I track it all for them because I go, okay, where are you at currently? And I'll have them track it. And then I look at those numbers and I go, okay, know what I need to do based on their goals. So I do all that stuff that I do. And then I make their numbers and I include the numbers in their plan so they're aware. Because the last thing I want to do, my phone's about to die, so we're going to wrap this up. The last thing I want to have happen is them to get off my meal plan in 3 to 6 months and go, well, I don't know what she was doing. Like, no, this is about long-term sustainable success through what I like to call building more than just a body, where we align inner work with physical results. So not only am I jumping on the phone every single week with my clients to check in on how their meal plan's going, but it's also a matter of what's going on inside. Like, is there anything emotional happening? What are you turning to food for? Why haven't you been on it? Things like that. So if you're looking for someone to truly support you in this journey, because it is a journey, you know, it is a long-term journey and something that you deserve to really invest in yourself for, then reach out to me, because I really do only work with soulmate level clients, and he knows how serious I am about that, because I really don't work with people I don't want to work with. But granted, I also don't have people on my Facebook who I don't want on my Facebook. So if you're watching this and if this is something that you're like, yes, I'm really into this, I really want to learn about this, but I don't want to have to do all this work myself, reach out to me. I'll do all the calculations for you, and you can literally just have a specific meal plan. You'll know your numbers, and I'll teach you all the rest, so you don't even have to worry about it. And of course, that's for people who want to work with me one-on-one, but there's other options as well. So just reach out and I can point you in the right direction. We'll see what the best fit is for you, not only, you know, based on where you're at currently, but also financially as well, because I am here for you and I always want to make it work. So thank you, Robbie, for being on and sharing so much of your wisdom and guidance. And he's just so amazing. He's actually in the process of getting his personal training certification. So we have lots of cool things coming up, huh?
Hopefully.
Oh, yeah. It's not a matter of if.
It's when.
Yeah, exactly. This guy is so smart. Like, yeah, I'm just so grateful for you. And
thank you.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'm glad I got to share Robbie with you guys. We'll be probably doing a lot more because that was really good. And, yeah, be on the lookout. Watch this space. You know, give him a follow on Facebook because some really cool things are coming and he shares all my stuff. So, obviously, it's good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. Have a great rest of your day, night, morning, wherever you are in the world. Just make it